what they'll actually see. So, great. We have a typical format. Alyssa's going to talk a little bit about you guys, or get you to talk very briefly about each of you, and then we're going to go into some question and answers and just talk about drones, all about drones. So take it away, Alyssa.
Well,
talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, we should be picking up everything here.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're getting everything.
Okay, so the first question I have for you guys is, what is your highest level? Like, what degree you have, or like, what's your highest level?
So for me, I actually went to 2 colleges. I came from St. Paul College and went for my network engineering degree. But before I finished, I wanted to transfer it over to Metropolitan State University, and I'm currently going for my computer science and information technology. And that's where I'm at. I'm going to be in my junior year pretty soon, so I'm pretty excited to be almost done too.
Oh, Jorian.
My thumb again. I have a bachelor's in computer science from Bethel University. It's just a 4-year degree. So.
I am a high school graduate. I did start college for network development as well. Switched to graphic design, did not complete that unfortunately, but may go back, I don't know, we'll see. That's about it.
Alright, so the second question is, what is your career right now?
For me, I actually am in a place where I did not think I was going to be originally, but I do love what I do now. So I am currently in the procurement field at Trinity 3 Technology, and pretty much what we do is, for my specific job, what we do is we buy and sell Chromebooks, laptops, desktops, you name it, basically for school. So anything that they want or their needs, like, as you probably have read on the news, all that stuff, there's Chromebooks and all that stuff getting deployed out to school. So we kind of configure everything, get it all set up, and basically whatever the customer wants, then we'll ship it out to them. And then I actually work with the warranty side, so I'm the person who goes and gets all these parts and these thousands of things, figure out compatibility between all these, like 20 different parts. And for example, like this remote probably has like 20 different things inside of it. So I got to figure out all the compatibility and part numbers and source all that stuff and make it work again. That's pretty much what I do.
My day job is I'm a contract software engineer for mobile platforms typically, so iOS and Android. But I'll do some electrical engineering and firmware development for different devices as well. And then when I'm not doing contract work, I am a serial entrepreneur, and so Hydra is one of my startups that I'm working on currently, but I've been through quite a few startups and watched them crash and burn, so hopefully this one doesn't crash and burn. So,
supposed to work, right?
Supposed to work. So here we are.
Retail sales, I work at Hub Hobby, sell drones and cars and toys. That's about it.
Well, thanks, stuff, and thank you, Hub Hobby. They were our first sponsor. Hint, hint, if there are any sponsors out there. But Hub Hobby has been very gracious. Do you mind if I take a quick commercial? But one of our goals is to not only have students that are able, that parents that can buy a $150, $200 kit, for their kids, but Hub Hobby has actually donated 6 complete drone kits so that when we have as we build towards competition, we'll actually be able to have kids that don't have them can come in and use them and practice with them. And so we'll always have equipment ready, queued up and ready to go, rather than making the kids feel like they can't. They don't have access to it. So they'll have to use it while they're there, because we're not going to obviously give away a kit to every kid. But no, I just want to thank Hub Hobby, and also for Todd, the owner of Hub Hobby, that has been very gracious and partnering, helping us build out this community effort. So.
All right, and the last question is what's in the day of your life and your career?
Day in life.
Life. I was like, I didn't know the question.
So lifestyle. So what you guys is lifestyle.
So lifestyle for me.
PG. Wait, G rated. Because I know you gnarly dudes are kind of gnarly.
So normal lifestyle for me is basically trying to find time to actually be at my new townhome that I purchased 3 months ago. So trying to actually start to relax for once, but somehow I keep getting more and more responsibilities every single day. So I'm just trying to take that back down. But for me, I'm a car person, so I probably got one of the most, I don't know, modified, different type of cars outside, if you notice in the parking lot. But that's me, and I just like technology. I like playing around with stuff, breaking and fixing it, taking it apart, just to figure out like how it works. So that's what I like doing.
You want the long version or the short version?
Well, you guys are moving on at a fast clip, so
we'll do the medium version.
Stuff, yeah.
I wake up to poopy diapers and potty all over the floor, and a dog who wants to eat at 6:30 in the morning. And then once that's done and taken care of, drive to my office a mile away, which is brilliant. Spend usually most of the day, about 6 hours, working with clients on applications and bugs and new features. And then I try and carve out a couple hours to work on Hydra, my startup. Typically then in the evenings there's events like this all over town. We're hosting a race somewhere. Hopefully try and find time to get back for dinner and see my kiddos and wife. And then I relax by either watching hockey or playing Overwatch. And then I hit the bed at some point.
Side question, what is Hydra?
Hydra is our drone racing company, and so we host races around town. We try to do it once a week, but once a month nowadays, and then I think we'll ramp it back up here. So you can go to a restaurant or a brewery or different tap room, and we'll have usually 4 pretty good pilots racing around above you. And you can download an app and kind of play along by picking who you think is going to win. And if you choose correctly, you can get free drinks or free appetizers or different discounts on meals. We give away lots of prizes for pilots and spectators and fans alike. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really, really good time. So Brandon is flowing at, I think, at 10 events, I think was what I saw on the list. Was it 10?
A few.
That went out yesterday. I think it was. Yeah, so we've done, I think, almost 40 races in the last year and change. So it's a lot.
Yeah, so as he said, I fly at their events. I like to do this stuff quite a bit, obviously, with my job and stuff. It's part of my everyday, pretty much all day thing. So whether it be this or, like I said, the bigger ones, I like to do filming at events, mostly automotive events at the racetracks and stuff. Drifting, autocrossing, whatever they'll let me fly my big drone over and capture footage of. Like snowmobiling, four-wheeling, just kind of being outside, trying to stay active and stuff. Take care of my dog, like hanging out with my puppy dog. Yeah,
so you guys are dog lovers.
Gotta be.
That's interesting.
I'm a cat lover, but I'm allergic to them now. So here we are. Got a dog.
All right, so one of the goals here for the organization is to help kids understand, how they can actually either create a career, get certified, get education, or something like that out of this, right? So every activity that the Minnesota STEM Partnership has should lead to some level of structure towards workforce or workforce readiness or workforce placement. So, for example, the goal of this league is to provide the $100, $150 scholarship for each student that turns 16 that actually takes the test to become an FAA certified drone pilot. So although we're starting with middle school age, we will likely get more high school students along that trajectory. So can you tell us, one of the questions Alyssa and I were talking about, can you tell us like what type of jobs are out there, each one of these maybe, or talk about what are the easiest ways for a kid that turns 16 to make money? Not at a bar, not racing with Hydra, right?
You're not going to make much money doing that.
If you can just elaborate a little bit on that.
Where's Aaron? Aaron could talk to this.
No, I know.
Is he on the phone at all?
No, he's not going to join us. Marty could probably, I should say, Marty is here. He's with Hydra PD too. And I think he brought his 2 lovely daughters, right? Yeah, wonderful. So I'm sure he's going to have them behind the control sticks. Otherwise, they can probably beat, I wouldn't say you guys, but they could beat Jorian. I know that for a fact. So maybe talk a little bit how they can make money or build a career out of that from your perspectives.
I think we're all trying to figure that out still, because I think we'd all love to just fly drones for a living. So I'm not sure that the options are plentiful yet, but I think that they are coming, and it is kind of one of those inevitable things where having this skill is going to be a good skill to have. I think right now the only opportunities that I'm really aware of for drones would be more in the photography line. I think maybe
agricultural. There's definitely applications there.
Yeah,
search and rescue. I mean, there's a pretty fair amount of opportunities out there if you can get in the right door.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say those doors aren't all wide open. You know, you almost have to kind of have a way in already.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like I have my brother-in-law. He's a firefighter, and their department just got drones for doing like surveillance over like burning buildings. They have infrared cameras to be able to see where it's hot on the house if it's burning, those kind of things. But they don't bring in drone pilots. They train the firefighters to be a drone pilot. So taking that approach of starting from the path of the pilot, I'm not sure where that path is supposed to be vital.
That's true.
And that's good because one of the positioning is we want to be prepared for the future before the future arrives, right? Although some people think it's today. So by starting younger, if these kids are working 2 to 3 years out to get out of high school, to launch out of high school, they'll be ready. Who's beeping?
You charge it.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. This is good. It's all high tech, right? So with that, there was a gentleman here, Mr. Smith, that Kelly had told me when we were meeting. We were talking about healthcare, and I found that to be very fascinating. That I think, Brandon, you talked about emergency search and rescue. So as I've been doing my research about jobs and trying to figure out how we can get kids employed or at least start their own business, healthcare and emergency services seem to be one of the biggest emerging things where, like, you can go into the post-hurricane impact, fly drones in and be able to help deliver first aid kits and stuff like that. And I know, Chris, you're here, but did you have any thoughts on that, or just from the audience?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually, there's a company out in Rwanda called Zipline, right? And they're delivering drugs and medications to rural areas, that are difficult to reach, by truck.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually looking to expand into the United States fairly soon. The department I work for is pharmaceutical. So, we have rural areas within the United States that we have to deliver to, and oftentimes the medications are, they're sensitive to temperatures, they're sensitive, right? They can't get stale. They need to get to a certain location on time, or the medication is no good, and there's a lot of waste.
Yeah.
So there are opportunities out there in the future to look at how we might utilize, drones for some of those deliveries.
Yeah. So
to remote places.
Yeah, to remote places. So the other thing where one of the underlying concepts of why we're doing this is, it always fascinates me. My wife is an executive with the post office, and I get to hear, well, they call it, for the kids, we'll just call it family talk, right? But I get to hear things that people shouldn't hear. But the interesting thing is how the whole delivery services are turning upside down, like Amazon, package delivery, United States Postal Service, and FedEx. And if we look at today, kind of the entry-level blue-collar jobs for, the average worker, minimum wage jobs are the McDonald's and the fast food, and then you're looking at package delivery, seasonal UPS delivery, and just looking at the bare basics of how some of our kids that we're trying to focus on get jobs. If they can come out, and by the time, drone delivery starts to hit full stride, this is why we want the younger kids to have the experience doing this stuff, so that they know when they go into these job applications or whatever, they can have some type of remote control experience that they can leverage from gaming. So I personally think it's going to be a big explosion of jobs in the next 2 to 5 years, personally. But Marty, you had a question?
Yeah, Michael, I just wanted to add. I think there are a lot of things that we haven't even thought of yet. Some things that I've heard that I don't think have been mentioned yet. Roof inspection.
Oh yeah, you did mention it.
Inspection of buildings done in a way that you can't easily get to without flight. And then I also know the agricultural sector is getting heavy into drones to be able to survey fields. And then we have a friend who's flown with us. Is it James? James Nation? And he works at Honeywell. Yeah. And he's working as a drone tech and a pilot, I believe, as a junior flying for them. So Honeywell is obviously a huge firm, but if you guys know a little bit more about what Jim's doing, add than that. But I think there's some, if you start to think about it, all the ways that drones could be useful. Some are going to be autonomous, some are going to be programmed to fly, but others will be requiring pilots.
Yeah. The other part you maybe remember this was, as I recall, memory, with the whole concept of drone flight, you could be in a command center like a call center, right, with 10 pilots, and then those drones could be anywhere, right, those delivery, just like we saw with the military being able to, unfortunately, be involved with warfare and dropping bombs and that kind of stuff, but the same concept, you turn it into a positive thing. We could actually set up our own drone headquarters and start delivering packages and whatnot, or at least build out those concepts, which is one of the reasons why we're trying to, I think, doing these synchronous gaming and stuff like that is really important.
And that was one more point I was going to make. Now that we've seen kids making money playing video games, because watching video games has become this huge thing, it's certainly not out of the question to imagine that drone racing pilots could make a living doing that as well. Now, we're just beginning to put on races. We're just beginning to see what that sport can be, but as an entertainment proposition, I know a lot of parents would never believe that they could make money playing video games.
Right.
But it's happening, and flying drones is another growing sport, and it's exciting to watch, and that's what we're working on.
I don't know if you're going this direction, Michael, but flying a drone is only one part of the equation. There's the entire building and programming and mechanical engineering and all that stuff. So I don't know if that's on the to discuss list or not, or if you were
breaking it all down. But this is why we're here to discuss it, so that as we record this and the kids can hear it, there's actually, we'll say a plethora, but there's so many different opportunities. Do you want to talk about drone building or what those other avenues?
Yeah, so I got into drones a couple of years ago purely because it kind of married all of my hobbies and my skill sets together in a way that really isn't done anywhere else. I'm a software engineer, so I like to program and write firmware for different devices. I like to build things with electronics, get down and dirty with a soldering iron and, figure out how things work and build it, construct it, and then, learn how to fly it, crash it, break it, fix it again, all that stuff. And so I was able to go in, and mess around with firmware on these guys, learn how the gyroscopes on these guys work and how the stabilization protocols operate and how to make it fly better, all the different chips that go into making it. So it broadened all those skill sets. And then I'm an avid gamer, so I love to play video games for things. And so when my controller looks like an Xbox controller and I get to fly around my office and up and down through different places, it's kind of a perfect marriage of all of my loves in my life from a hobby perspective. So, but I am far from a top 10 pilot in this city, a top 50 pilot probably not even there. So I go to these events and I like to do all the tech side and just support role of helping, building, producing and making these races execution go along well. And that's a lot of fun. But I'm not flying, but I still enjoy it. I would still say I'm involved in a heavy way, in a pretty significant manner in the drone community here. And I think that, so I'm not even flying. So there's more to drones than just piloting it. And so I think that definitely should not be overlooked. It can't be overstated. Brandon?
Yes.
And speaking of that too, one of the objectives, obviously, we were talking about the different layers. Flying is just one element. And that's really, actually you can turn it to Brandon. That is a perfect topic that we can segue into. Is Brandon and I have met multiple times to talk about what we wanted to do with the league, right? And so we started, I started with, high complexity, high structure, and all this kind of stuff. And he says, well, why don't you just let them play around with it the first time and just get used to it and then start building it. So our objective is there are rules to how drone racing happens. For instance, you can't have 10 drones in the room with everybody having their drones turned on at the same time because you interfere with the video frequencies and all that kind of stuff. So although we're not able to show that live for you today, there's a maximum number of channels on frequencies that you can have where so many drones can fly simultaneously. So one of our goals, it wasn't necessarily to feed Hydra FPV with massive pilots, but in reality we are trying, that is our first objective, is to train them in that protocol. also to expose them to like aviators. And, you know, you ever see those movies where the pilot and the co-pilot say, check this, check that, check all that? Well, Brandon, do you want to talk maybe a little bit briefly about the protocol, like the different stages that the kids would have to go through? Like you have the post stage, and you had like your ready, set, go, and then you have to go be the field marshal, or whatever that stuff is. If you could share that.
Sure, yeah, I mean, in like an average race, I guess, or whatever, there'd be, even before the racing happens, you check in and make sure that you're on the right video channel and make sure that everybody kind of understands that only one person can be on that channel at a time. So if there's, you know, 5 people or whatever on the one channel, you have to wait until those, you know, until that spot is open so you can turn your machine on so you're not killing somebody else's video signal. You know, so you get that all done first and kind of make sure everybody understands that. And then, yeah, you run your race, and then after you're done with that, you maybe go shut your stuff off and go out and then wait for the next group to go out and race. So if somebody crashes, they can, you know, get flipped over and stuff, and, you know, they call it marshalling, I guess. Yep. But, you know, just run around and make sure everybody stays up in the air, and if they're not, you go find them and get them back in the air, or try to. And then, yeah, you just kind of go back and prep your machine, charge batteries, kind of check everything over, make sure everything is still functioning properly, and if not, fix it. And then, yeah, get ready for your next race or your next round or whatever.
Has anybody ever seen a drone race, actually in person or live? Well, I have a video, if you guys will bear with. I took the liberty of borrowing Hydra FPV's video online. So, and I apologize, the audio is really bad, so, but maybe you guys can enjoy what's up there. I'm just going to, that video, it's really some awesome video, but my speakers are like totally sad. It almost made me want to cry. Oh, but they do this at this microbrewery, so I'm sorry to show actually alcohol. I am apologetic for that. But what they do is they have a big screen, and you can picture a room like this with 25-foot ceilings. But they have all these gates. Well, actually, you're here. Why don't you? Marty's actually the MC for this thing. He is incredible, and he wears an outfit all the time. But you want me to keep going? That's Marty. Yeah, that's these guys.
That was the day after Halloween.
Yeah. He had a 10-gallon hat and a vest. He looked good. Well, what they do is they have these circles, these hula hoops with these gates with neon lights. There's Joel right there. And he has a really sophisticated command center. This is child's play. But as you can see, while the adults are sitting there enjoying their cold refreshments and food, we have food trucks lined up outside. But you get 3 to 4 or 5 pilots sitting along there, and they zoom. They take these little tiny routes, and they're taking off. They go through the different gates or course. I should not be explaining this. You know, I'm faking it. But anyway, they show all the, if you look on the screen there, that's what we want to have for our kids, too, is when we do our races, they can see what's actually coming out of the front of the drone. So, like, there's a drone landing, but you can see everything on the whiteboard, on the projector.
And then there's an app. You saw earlier there's an app that we invite all the
spectators
to use, and you can pick the finish of each of the heats, and you can win things, and then we have that dual leaderboard with dogs also.
However, there's a dog drinking cold, that's ginger ale.
Ginger ale.
Drinking ginger ale.
We've had dogs try to catch the drones out of the air, but as you're picking the pilots, only 4 pilots are racing, and there are only so many pilots in the area that fly at this level. But over on the right-hand side, the fans are competing by picking pilots. So you can, and then at the end of the night, as you'll see in a moment, we have 2 pilot and one pick.
Yep. So, believe it or not, we had the similar mindsets, except the concept that we were going to develop over time was synchronous racing across cities, right? So our kids would have a distinct and refined course that is of so many dimensions and feet and hoops of a certain height and everything. So the courses theoretically by design would be exactly the same, right? So we were planning on having multi-city heats so that we could have like this national competition, right? So that was our original dream. Then the first time I was told by Brandon, say, man, you got to check out these dudes over at the Bauhaus. And it's like, man, I got gout. I can't drink beer. You know, I get big toe. So I can't go over there. And when I went there, I was really impressed with what Marty and Joel have done on the technology side. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why I love these guys is because they're willing to partner with us to help us figure out how to use the software and maybe achieve that goal. That's a lofty goal. But we first have to get the kids familiar with the proper protocol of racing and gaming, and then take them through a fun exercise through these other concepts, adding in the repair, maintenance, and engineering concepts, right? So if you have any friends or family that are aviators or engineers that also would be interested in helping, you know, our races are going to be, what do we say, on the third Saturday of every month. The location is to be determined. We've got 2 or 3 different sites we're working through. Whoever is going to give us the best deal, I think, is free is what the deal is we're looking for right now. But our ultimate goal is over the next 3 months to build the experience and practice with the kids so that they can actually get to the May championship and then perform, you know, in a race, in an actual heat. Involved with that, too, is we'll be taking them to the non-alcoholic drone races. And Joel and Marty, you guys had a workshop either coming up or had a workshop. Do you want to put in a little plug for that?
Sure, I'll put one in. Next Saturday, the 29th of December. Not next Saturday, yeah. Next Saturday? Yeah, next Saturday.
Week from Saturday.
Yeah, week from Saturday. The 29th, we're putting on just kind of a kids workshop, targeting everyone from 6 years old to about 12 years old at the Works Museum in South Minneapolis. And so it's a great spot to kind of go and like really foster that STEM education element.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to have just a couple races throughout the day from like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 to 1, 2, I think, so 5 races. And then in between, we're going to have a bunch of simulators set up so kids can use one of these controllers to try and fly drones on a computer. And then if they do well at that, they can kind of graduate and actually try their hand at flying one of these little guys, which we'll have a couple of those set up for them to take a stab at. And then we have a kit as well, you know, whatever. But if they end up buying that, we'll help them assemble it upstairs and get a little more one-on-one action with some of the pilots as well. So there's kind of a whole day's worth of drone activities and experiential type stuff. So it's 29th, Works Museum starts at 10 and goes till 2.
Yes.
So
although they are different organizations, just to be clear, obviously we have our sponsor, we have a package that we want all the kids to use, and also so it'll help with repairable parts, exchangeable parts. So, but no, that's great. But just, you know, please absorb anything or any activity with your students that you possibly can. All right, so I guess the next question really boiled down to, besides the particular, did we have a question? Oh, Kelly?
What are there like federal rules and regulations and flying drones outside that should be a major concern because of what we heard of this morning, or the UK shut down, UK airport, because of the 2 drones that had
So with that situation at the airport, like with that, there is a rule that you cannot fly any sort of like drone or like little helicopter near the airport due to like just like safety reasons and security. And if one of those drones, let's say, hit the plane full on as it's going up, it can cause major damage to the plane, and the plane would have to secure land down on it. So like that's like the biggest major regulation. You can't fly in any malls or like any big like libraries and stuff like that. But there's nothing else that's like really big on regulations, I don't think, right?
That's the TBD. So the government just passed a new law a couple months ago, which is basically turning over all of the regulations around drones and flying outdoors, even from a hobbyist level up to professional, to the FFA. They basically took back a lot of control. To date, there's been basically no laws. It's been very loose. They've looked to organizations like the AMA and different hobby groups to kind of contain themselves within certain airspaces up to 400 feet and not within like 5 miles from an airport, whether it's a small local airport or a large international airport, doesn't matter. If it's an airport, you can't fly near it. Usually within school, like a couple miles around schools are off limits. Sports stadiums are off limits. So there's actually applications you can download for your phone or go online, and you can look at these maps, and they'll draw these big circles and say you can't fly here, you can't fly here. I'm very fortunate. I live in a sliver where there's no rules, and so the park behind my house is totally free and clear. It's great. But that's not true for a lot of places, especially in the Twin Cities. It's pretty crowded. It's really tough to find good airspace that's not regulated. If you do want to fly in those places, you usually have to contact an airport and say, I'm going to be flying this if it's for like a commercial purpose.
Yep.
You have to call them ahead of time and say, I'm going to be flying here. Here's my flight plan. Submit it. The big international ones have to give you approval. If it's a small unmanned airport, so it's just a field where usually it's like smaller planes are flying there, typically it's just you just have to leave a message basically and you're good to go.
Registration number.
Yeah, you do need to register any drone that's over 1.5 pounds. Half a pound with the FAA, so you go online and just put your personal information in. They'll give you a number. You're supposed to put it on the quadcopter itself, or the helicopter, or the big screen, or whatever it is. I think over 1/2 pound, yeah. But the rules there have now been kind of thrown out the window. They haven't really come and said exactly what the new rules are going to be. But there's a lot of discussion about the idea of putting an ID transponder on every single drone, regardless of whether it's hobby or commercial. No matter the weight, no matter where, no matter, I don't know. There's a lot of oversight that is potentially coming, but it's kind of TBD at this point.
We've also posted on our Facebook page, the Midwest Drone League, there are also local municipal ordinances that prohibit you from flying a drone above so many feet in the air, and it is actually illegal for you to record your neighbors. So you will want to check based on your own municipality, own county, and all that. But that's some of the things that we'll also try to infuse in one of our workshops. Is it's illegal for you to just fly a drone and you want to go fly over to your friend's house and take video, record them through the window. That's actually illegal. I don't know if it's a misdemeanor or a felony or whatever, but it's definitely finable. So it's not like where you can just take a drone and fly it anywhere and you're free to do it. There are actually consequences to that. You're going to be held accountable for it. So
there are also regulations about flying over crowds of people without an exception. And I don't know if that's changed in still under the revamp. So I'm not careful with that.
Quite serious consequences too. I mean, you can be in a lot of trouble for
people have been fined thousands of dollars for it.
So I don't know what those are right now. I did look at the Ramsey County ones, and it looked very stringent. So we want to make sure, since our kids will be coming from all over the Twin Cities, that we emphasize the fact that you got to check your own neighborhood rules. So especially when it's a toy, you want to play around with it and all that. It can be a very intrusive privacy intrusion. So where do we leave off at? We did the drones. We did the lifestyle. Okay, so in terms of, we were just talking to Joel about the engineering and the other educational aspects to it. What do you think, would be the best approach for someone that's coming out of gaming, that if they're still gaming or when they're in their downtime, for all three of you guys, what would be the best advice for a kid wanting to get into this, or an adult? Just like, what kind of skills would you actually have to have, or you would focus in on? And let me tell you, the premise for my question was, I heard there was this guy named Spangler. Chris Spangler, some like well-known, notorious guy or something. But apparently he didn't drive drones like 2 years ago, right? He didn't really fly drones, but he played video games, right? Yeah. And so he was a really good gamer, but he actually is now a sponsored pilot on DRL because he just like dove into this sport, right? So what type of skills or preparation would you recommend as kids could go after?
Practice. I mean, that guy has spent literally thousands of hours holding a controller, making it do what it needs to do. I mean, it's practice.
And he does it on the simulator, on a computer as well.
Which is harder than that. I think the simulator is a little bit harder than actually flying it. I mean, the actual flying has actual consequences, where in a simulator you crash, you hit reset, and you go again. Yeah. You crash these over and over again, you got to fix them at some point, probably throw a little bit of money at them and stuff, but I mean, just practice, just stick time, and just dedication. I mean, that guy is probably one of the most dedicated FPV pilots I've ever met. thousands of dollars, literally, in one year. That was before Swatch last year.
Yeah. Since then,
it's insane.
Yeah.
So how big can this industry grow? Do you think sports drone racing?
Sky's the limit. Yeah. Cheesy as it may be, that's it. You know.
It kind of checks all the high adrenaline boxes that we like. You know, with all the moves we race it, but this is super high adrenaline, super fast, and the risk to the pilots is zero. So we're free to crash stuff over and over again, so you can get bigger impacts, bigger explosions, and it's going to be awesome.
Speaking of that, how much money, like, from the parents' perspective, then, I'm going to buy this tiny whoop, drone for my kids, and, I probably got to buy a couple extra batteries, and I got to do all this stuff. I think the package that Hub Hobby is offering. But am I going to have to buy extra stuff, like, to fix it all the time, or are my kids going to break it? What is the most common thing that breaks on these things, and how much money over a year do I spend on this stuff?
I mean, your propellers, your little frame. The
or do you want to put it up by the camera? Or we just froze. Well, go ahead. You can keep going.
No, I was going to say, like, the propellers, you crash. Those will get dinged up over time. Frames, and stuff. Just have a lifespan. They're just a little throw. And these are the things that we're talking about in front of us, little brush motors. They have a lifespan. They say 7 to 8 hours or something of use. And they're probably getting ready to be replaced. But those are fairly low cost, low maintenance. Because even when they're so light, hurt themselves, you're more likely to get hurt by getting stepped on or something. But the bigger ones, those ones you try not to crash. Those are a little bit faster, a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. So when they hit things, they're a lot more likely to break. But I mean the little guys aren't too bad.
You say too bad, in what kind of price range are we talking?
So, for instance, a set of propellers might cost somebody $2 to $5, depending what you want. A little main frame, again, $3 to $5, $3 to $6. Set of motors, maybe $10 or $15. And like I said, that kind of stuff isn't needing to be replaced every time you play it. I mean, I crash this little guy almost every time I fly into something. Trying to push the limit, trying to go in a tighter spot, trying to go a little faster, just kind of pushing it to try to get better. They're pretty tough. You get into the bigger stuff, they call them 5-inch racers, or even like we talked about the aerial platforms for photography and video and stuff. Those you try a little harder not to crash.
I've crashed my photography drone.
Yeah, it's not good. It's definitely not good. You try not to crash those, because those will waste stuff. It's like thousands of dollars, maybe, depending on the crash. So, yeah. But no, I mean, an average, it's hard to say, because as I crash it all the time, and I very rarely have to spend money on it. But if I do, I would say, an average repair might be $8.
Is that it's a hobby. With every hobby, there's kind of that acceleration of interest, and you want to get a new drone. Like you see one drone here, but I have 20 at home, right? So it's kind of one of those things where.
I was looking at it from the point of view as you're introducing kids, especially starting in middle school. The whole durability thing comes into play, especially if you're a nonprofit and you only have so many kids. Making sure you've got a low-cost point of entry, but something that's going to keep the kids engaged. You're not worried about them running into a wall or bouncing off a desk or something. And to replace those things is at a minimal cost as well. So you still keep them engaged.
These guys, you don't, they can graduate if they want on their own time to the bigger stuff, but you should stick to these tiny whoops. They're easy to repair. We can repair them in a heartbeat. We do it all the time. And we crash them at our races and events, and these guys, Chris Spangler, who we're talking about, flies at it and keeps going. It's faster than anybody, and he'll go full speed into a wall, and it comes right back up, and he keeps going and finishes the race no problem. So,
although I did see a race where one of the propellers flipped off, and somebody did like a live put a propeller on right on the fly.
Yeah, so. I mean, it popped up, and you just grabbed one out of the bag and just slammed it on, and off you went. So stick to these guys, and these are super fun. I mean, there's no.
You had mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry if I'm going out of order here on this, but you had mentioned earlier one of the things that is intriguing about what you do is the fact that okay, you have an interest in flying, but you also had an interest in building. You know, so when we're working with kids, there's a lot of kids who, I think you had mentioned, you like to put it together, tear it apart, see what makes it work, that kind of thing. So having kids get that experience where they can actually build something, again, not having to be at this high level thing, it's something that's down here at the entry level, but they can build it, then learn how to fly it, then enjoy actually doing all the stunts and flying the courses, that kind of thing. Do you find introducing kids to that, through that method, to be more beneficial than just getting them right to learning how to fly a course?
Have to begin in 2 weeks. I don't know.
No, keep doing it.
Yeah. One of the things I kind of explore when people ask me this question is, what do I buy? I mean, that's the common question. And I like to steer people as personal preference. I like to steer them towards the raw parts. Like, you buy the pieces and you have to assemble it. The reason is because it's going to break. And if you don't know how it was put together, you're not going to know which part you need to replace and how to replace it. So from the get-go, you can say, buy these motors, buy this frame, buy this flight controller, and here's how to put it together. And these guys, this literally takes me about 9 minutes to put together from nothing. So it's not hard. I think a 10-year-old should be able to do it without too much assistance. I'm hoping that's the right number. We'll see. But a screwdriver is all you need. And so I like to push people towards that. You know, empower them to make their own repairs and modifications, and understand that this isn't just a toy you bought from Target, and if you break it, you might be able to take it back to Target and get a new one. That's not how this works. Like, these are machines that if they break, you probably were responsible for breaking it, and you need to replace the parts. And if you tell them how to replace it, then that's great. That's how it should work at this point. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially if you're looking at getting kids introduced to career opportunities. If I was going to potentially be an engineer, knowing how to build something, knowing why it has to be in balance, why it has to operate at a certain speed versus just learning how to fly it. Now you're really developing my interest in that engineering pathway.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you brought that up because, we're starting at middle school, so we'll call it a semester, right? So spring semester, we're just going to get the kids familiar with racing, just to give them a fun entry point, and that will be like level 1. And then in the fall, those kids that were in this semester will graduate to the next level, and they'll start out with a racing model, but we'll start to introduce college students coming in with EEs and different engineering degrees, and then more exposure to the actual education side of it, talking about weight, lift, and all those types of things. And then in our third year, Brandon and I have talked about this at some level of length. There's a point in time where, like you said, they may not want to play with the little drones. Now they're like, man, let's fly a bigger drone and let's get right into a DRL or, the actual sport of racing, those really fast ones. Then that's where we can actually then start to really branch out and then get into some heavy dynamics. And I know that Russ is here. He's with Minnesota State, the IT Center of Excellence, and he represents 54 colleges and universities, all of the community colleges and all of the state colleges, focusing in on IT, and there are community colleges that have drone certifications, right? So that's on their docket of emerging curriculum that's coming out to stay competitive. So saying all that to say is, the way that we've envisioned the Minnesota STEM partnership is creating multiple step-up levels without it being a class, right? They'll understand lift and drag and aviation. I'm faking it, guys. Aviation fundamentals, right? But like, for example, the one thing I do know is that you can't take a tiny whoop or 10 of them and tie strings to them and lift them up and lift up this laptop, right? You got to get one of those 10-pound drones and lift it up and carry it somewhere. So we will stagger, infrastructure building of foundation and layers of advanced levels throughout the years. So the concept is by the time they get that kind of experience and energy in it, even if we pull 10% or 20%, not to be pessimistic, but even if we get a few that actually do pursue the drone licensure, it's a success. Matter of fact, every student that will learn some of those engineering concepts is a success because they might skip maybe a few semesters and think back, or maybe to get their first job and it's like, hey, have you ever flown a drone? Oh yeah, we did that as a kid. And then they'll come up, every adult that reaches like 22 or 23, and I don't know if you have done it, says, man, I wish I would have did that when I had a chance, right? Everybody would have, should have, could have. So That's perfect. Trying to build those engineering concepts down in the future. But out of the gate, we're going to go with the fun aspect of it.
I guess I had a thought on that. Getting them engaged and getting them excited about them is probably going to be easier to do so by having them fun. I know I was very frustrated when I first started trying to learn these and do them on my own. I was just trying to figure it all out, watching YouTube videos and forums and.
It's come a long way though in the last couple of years.
It has, but I think you put a controller in a young person's hand, have it, go thrash on it. And when you break it, then let's take it apart together and fix it and learn it that way. I think I don't know, either way is good, but I think getting them excited about it, getting a taste, what it's like to fly through the camera like that. And then teach them how to fix it on the flip side.
Yeah, my concern would be is if they have no interest in the building aspect whatsoever, stick them on a simulator and let them go for a long time.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Because then they're going to crash the quad and it's going to break, and then they're going to lose interest overnight. And that $100, $150 investment that you made when hoping he would or she would adopt this, this new toy or this new hobby or this new, education path, is going to go right out the window because they're going to lose interest really fast. So, yeah. This is all theoretical again, so, I think we're still exploring all this together, but that's part of it. It's what's fun. It's trying to figure out what works. So.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing, the consistent theme that I've heard, too, you have this pie-in-the-sky dream about we're going to train all these kids and all that, is that the coolest thing about it is it's still evolving, right? And it's still taking shape, so what an opportunity for kids to be able to get in on the front end of something versus always getting kids can take coding classes. Kelly represents BDPA, and they teach great coding classes. But, it's kind of like, let's get something exciting. So where can you actually be at the front end of a technology? I've also heard that when it did come out a couple of years ago, that it was too soon. So it almost misfired because it wasn't as hit mass popularity. But now with the introduction of, cheaper, better, smaller, the tiny whoop, which I always laugh when I hear that term, but tiny whoop. Where did the word tiny whoop come from anyway? Anybody know? Turn the camera.
I should ask. I was just on the phone with him today.
You should. Because he's the guy who came up with this.
Yeah.
Invented it or whatever.
So, so do you want to give the quick backstory of Tiny Whoops?
I don't really know, honestly.
Well, it started with Inductrix. So
you wanted a camera version.
Yeah, somebody had this without the camera on the front, and we applied the bigger ones to the cameras, but the little guys weren't strong enough to get the cameras, and somehow he found
powerful motors.
It's more powerful motors than a super tiny camera from China, something strapped it on the top, and I don't know why it's called Whoop. I think that might have been from Team Big Whoop. I don't know which came first, though.
I don't know either.
So, I don't know. But that's just basically what we call them now, Tiny Whoops. I mean, technically, they're mini quads. Yeah. Mini quads.
Mini quad helicopters?
Quadcopters.
Quadcopters.
Quadcopters. Yeah, heli would be 2 props.
Or multi-rotor.
Multi-rotor, yeah. There are a lot of terms. Drone is actually kind of a misnomer because it's a very broad category. So, Drone Racing League is, drones usually imply autonomous.
It could be an airplane. It could be
missiles involved.
Car,
so people think of drones. I actually don't like using the word drones if possible. It usually has a bad connotation, especially if you're parked flying and somebody comes up and bring that. What are you flying? What drone? And you're like, it's not a drone. It's a quadcopter. I'm not going to kill anyone. Don't worry.
Up until about a year and a half ago, I was very against that whole drone, name or whatever, because it was always a negative. Connotation or whatever, so that's just what they are now.
Yeah.
So,
Man, I like your shirt, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got it from this.
All right, so we got about 5 to 10 minutes left, realistically. I know that the library closes at 8. We typically will end no later than 7:45, but any questions that you guys have or any suggestions for the parents? And then I also have the audience members, if you have any questions for these guys while we have them here, certainly you're more than welcome to ask them now. So we'll do a quick Q&A while they think about if there's any battery juice left in one of those quadcopters up there. Maybe they can zoom them around for you guys and
racing out here.
You get to see them in person, so Jenna and Chris and other folks online, you're not going to be able to actually see this, unfortunately.
We'll do our best to buzz the camera.
Yeah, fly in front of the camera.
So the cameras that are on those little, they're just basically for your guidance. They're not recording. They're not for recording this.
Yeah, you can record, and so if you have those goggles on, I put mine on too. You get to see straight out, like you're on the quadcopter.
Mm-hmm.
So then we take that video feed and our events, we put that up on the screen or the TV, and we'll let you kind of fly along with the pilots and things. So he's going to do a little more fun movement here because I'm flying mine tonight.
We should have made you sign a like liability waiver there. If you get hit in the forehead. Actually, that's one of the things I learned at the Hydra FPV. Wow, that was above the tower. Was they have table tents.
That was an accident, actually. I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
And they actually, in some cases, they make you sign a waiver before you come in or on your ticket, like when you take a rock concert or go to a hip-hop concert. If they're going to do any type of pyrotechnics or whatever, on your ticket it says, by the mere purchase of this ticket, that you waive any liability to injury, harm, or anything like that.
So we had clarification of that. So that we don't actually make people do that. We had discussed doing that. We did a big outdoor race as opposed to these little guys. We did a big outdoor with like this 5-inch quad up at a horse track, and those have serious, repercussions if you get hit by one of those. Those are dangerous. And so
because they raw blades, right?
Yeah. I mean, you just don't want to get hit by those things. So we set up over 3,000 square foot of netting, and big warning signs everywhere, and so that's where we had $30,000 in. We had to spend that day for like liability insurance.
Wow.
It was pretty insane what we had to do to make that type of law. So we won't be doing that again too often. I think we'll do 3 more events this summer, but it's a pricey endeavor and the risk is high.
Yeah.
So we make sure to try and inform people as much as possible and have as much protection as what's reasonable. I think they do pilots like branded to make sure that they don't fly into the crowd. So they're not allowed to fly over brand.
Flying at the store has given me a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's not good, but a lot of confidence, I guess, around people. I'll bump into stuff, but I've never hit anybody. Bump into employees' legs and stuff, or whatever, coworkers and stuff, but, practice. It's practice.
Yeah.
Did you say that those, even the little ones, have gyros in them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little accelerometers, and so this guy's flying in what we call stabilization mode. So if I kind of let go of my sticks, it'll kind of level itself out like that. You can fly in acro mode. I'll switch to acro mode now. That's not acro mode. Here's acro mode. So you see I kind of drift storm. Mm-hmm. So that's basically turning your gyroscope off for the most part. That mode's we usually don't fly that on the tiny boats. It's really hard to kind of do some of the cornering that we need to do indoors with that. So
on the larger ones that you're flying outside, you almost need that extra bit of throw, because with this in stable mode, it's only able to bank so far. The gyro holds the drum going too far. And these little brush motors that these are equipped with, they just don't have the power and the thrust to act right in that full acro mode. It can be done, but it's definitely faster and better for flight performance and characteristics in that stable mode.
What's the range of this unit?
So I fly this all the way down my block with my goggles on. So like I said, I live in a park, and so there's a fun little playground, and I live like right off of it, so I can sit on my deck, and my kids will be out at the park playing, and I'll fly all the way out to the park, and then keep an eye on you, and then fly it all the way down to the other end, which is it's a pretty large park. So I mean, I can technically see it because we're being recorded, right? I can see the line of sight to my drone at that point, but
Well, another key thing besides the drones being safe is that we have a very young person here with us too, and this particular device because it's safe. It's also good for young ages as well as to older ages. So we obviously have adult males and females that are racing that take this hobby and entertainment as a sport very seriously. So there are many, many videos of, the videos I've seen are mainly like families that are IT, you know, they're real tech adults or they work in tech, and they get their kids toys. You know, these are $150, $200 or throwaway toys, right, for somebody making a couple $100,000 a year. But the whole concept there is if we can get our kids to experience this younger and know that, you know, these types of things exist, there's long-term ramifications. So hopefully you guys have learned, you know, a little bit about, you know, what the drone racing is about. I'm still, I don't think I'll ever be a pilot, I can tell you that. Wow, that's cool. And these guys are really good too, don't let them fool you. I've watched them fly like really, really super fast and competing, so.
Wow, that's crazy. The whole spatial recognition, it seems, does that take some getting used to, knowing when you're coming up on something and where you're actually at your base?
Yep. Yeah. It's all practice and just kind of getting comfortable with everything with the generally, you know, maintaining altitude was the hardest thing I had to, you know, figure out how to keep it at a certain height and, you know, not to climb, not to drop unless you wanted to, you know. Maintaining a constant altitude is tough.
Well, Jenna, it's actually a lot of fun over here, so I'm getting my hair buzzed. Instead of going to Great Clips, I could have just came over here a couple of times and take a little off the top. So, Alyssa, it's been a fun night, huh? What do you think?
It's been really fun. Can you do a 360 spin or no?
You mean like a flip?
Yeah, flip.
I literally put this drone together this morning. I also think about. I really think if I can go into. I think I can do it for.
Oh,
Durable, very tough.
Yeah.
No, it's always thinking let me do it.
can you hover right in front of me real quick, like right here? Oh, maybe not. I was just curious. It's definitely going in the reel.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. Hey there, Joel, what's going on, man? Can you imagine, though, your kids are, you know, talking to each other, they fly a drone down the block to go see their buddy. Man, what you doing? And they're, instead of Skyping on the computer, you know, they're Skyping through their headsets, if you will. So, besides it being a lot of fun, there is a huge, oh, that's beautiful, huge entertainment, or huge education value to it. At least that's what we're going to tell the parents. So. All right, everyone, well, it's past our time, and we thank you all for coming. Any last questions before we break? Or I'm guessing there's plenty of pizza, plenty of liquids, and there's also, I should say, because we're a nonprofit, the black T-shirts like Brandon and I have, but they're short sleeve. We're looking for $25 donation or anything that you have. If you want a T-shirt, don't leave here without one. The kids, you know, if the kids really want one, we'll $10 for the kids. And any student in our league that actually registered online, they will get a T-shirt. So they'll automatically get a T-shirt. And but anything, if you want to buy a Minnesota or donate towards the Minnesota STEM Partnership, the Minnesota colored T-shirts with the Minnesota STEM Partnership logo are also $25. So, and all that money will go back directly into buying batteries and other equipment that Hub Hobby won't cover for us. So thank you all for coming.
So did you say that your league is, where's the location at? Where does that happen at monthly?
So it'll happen in the same place. We have 3 sites that we're looking at now, but we haven't picked the actual site. I think one of the sarcasm I had earlier was we want the best one for free, basically. So we just had somebody offer a loft area in the Midway, but they also, it was like vacant warehouse space, but they wanted money for it. It's like, even if it was a little bit, so we might negotiate like a tax write-off or something like that, in-kind donation. But we have access to public schools and different things like that, but mostly it's going to be bigger space, like auditorium. Like a Franklin Middle School is a very good partner of ours, stuff like that, or even a YMCA or Boys and Girls Club, right? But our goal is our goal for this program isn't to be a drop-in program.
Right, you want kids
right?
to show up.
Yep, and it's also the way that we've laid out the league is you have to have, we're starting with 12 pilots per tribe, and then we can have multiple tribes across the Twin Cities, right? And although I have the paperwork, I was so busy with the technology, we actually have handouts. I know you're doing. Are you guys going to do drones with your organization? Or?
That's why I'm here tonight. I was exploring who you guys are, what your model was, what the opportunities might be.
Yeah.
We do our brother-to-brother group mentoring program. We're at 3 middle schools in St. Paul.
Okay.
And we started their flip side program.
Yeah.
And when we start our spring session, STEM and outdoor activities are our focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge proponent of quadcopters.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Well, let's talk afterwards. I'll give you my card. Make sure you have my card and information, and then we can stay connected. Yeah.
So, with your model, when you see you want to have different tribes across the Twin Cities, would they do programming at their site, or would they come to wherever you're?
So it's like a hub, if you will, like a Boys and Girls. So wherever we set up the drone trainer and the site lead, you would have those 12 kids at one location. Or we might have 24 kids at one location in 2 different ends of the building. Right. But they will basically learn other core values such as teamwork, citizenship, and all the other stuff. Right. But ultimately, to get out of the gate, we just want them to have fun and get familiar with it.
So. Yeah, Jonathan Jones told me I need to be connected.
Yeah, Jonathan, absolutely. I know there was a, I don't know if it was a Cub Scout or Boy Scout group, but yeah.
I used to work for the Boy Scouts along with Jonathan, and I did I worked with the University of Minnesota to do a weather balloon launch into the stratosphere and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really into the STEM part of utilizing the Scouts to introduce STEM to inner city units.
Sure. Well, the one of the beauties of this is
Brandon's just logging on my quad right now.
Quite good at it.
So, I'm sorry, I got interrupted. There was a question on there for Brandon and Hub Hobby. So yeah, Jenna, we will definitely have things available we can send you afterwards. So, and depending on the school district, actually, Brooklyn Center is online. Their school district, their contact is interested in doing drone programming, right? So, although we're kind of informal here tonight, we're looking at many entry points. However, our goal is if we can create some level of standards and get maybe different groups to, work in that particular platform, we could also, you could be independent and have your own drones, and we just do we'll have the championship in May, is what we're planning for. And then we just get groups together and let kids meet up and have, like going roller skating or going to intramural, AAU basketball, for lack of a better term, right? Yeah, so that's a bigger dream part of it. And then growing the education piece of it is our primary focus. But we can have fun doing that along the way.
So did you say there's a certain kit that you guys are?
Yeah, for our group, because we have a great sponsor, we have a. I can email it to you. It's actually online, and it's basically it's that box. It's everything he has right there. The Inductrix, Tiny Woo.
So it's that one. Is it
if
like
you can hold it in front of the camera, it's very similar.
The big difference, I would say, is the one that Joe's flying, or the ones that he's flying here.
Can you put the camera on
require
the
a little bit of configuring. It's not necessarily out of the box
pick your controller up and play with it. They do require some setup, and that's, like I said, that was some of the frustration that I was expressing earlier that I had when I first started this, was getting them set up and making them work and then kind of all that stuff. So this is I would say an easier entry level point. Get excited about it without the frustration, and then
yeah, let's talk. I'm needing to purchase some for our spring session. Well, starting in within.
Yeah, let's definitely talk, because we might even be able to get a volume discount through them as well. And keep in mind that if you look at it, it's just like everything, right? You can take a different perspective. Our goal wasn't to maintain a bunch of vehicles, right? Our goal was to be able to have easily replaceable, deployable things without getting too. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you can actually build all the kits like that Joel is flying and still accomplish the same thing. You just have to have more of a mechanic or be knowledgeable to keep the fleet ready, right?
Right.
So our goal was to have a person like Joel, a person like Brandon or Joel even, or Jorian is learning to be. Jorian is actually our fleet manager, so we'll have a case. He'll keep all the equipment, make sure we have all spare parts, keep extra batteries. And then when we go set up on the third Saturday and then maybe the first Saturday for practice, we'll have everything right there, and have all the, because it takes more infrastructure, right? So you got to realize it's like having, if everybody had an iPhone and you only had 30 minutes, you only had 7 minutes on a phone. You have to have power strips, extra you have to have chargers, and all that stuff needs to be maintained and hauled and set up. So it's not even just the mere fact of having, getting the drone. Those only have like 3 to 7 minute flights.
You gotta have extra batteries and.
Yep, that's it. Extra batteries, extra parts. But yeah, we'll definitely talk. I'd be more than willing to share everything that we have with it, because I just think we need to get more kids involved with activities like this.
And as we get the kids introduced to it, I can see as part of our community, when we do our community program at Jimmy Lee, which is 2 Saturdays a month.
Yeah, I was actually calling there. I called Jim. I live right down from Jimmy Lee. I called Jimmy Lee, Martin Luther King, and I have a contact at the Union Gospel Mission to the Over Club.
Oh,
I was trying to.
Irwin?
He was at the St. Paul Black Ministerial Alliance meeting. It was the actual bishop or deacon, whoever's over there, the religious head guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just met him and was talking about the activity. But no, I live down there, so I was trying to get groups, tribes at each one of those. So that was at least, because it's right my back door. At Maxfield there's another one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we got robotics at Maxfield, but we don't have the drone stuff. So yeah.
Actually, no. Comes in the hub every now and then.
Yeah, he's actually got a quadcopter course at Union Gospel that he's got.
Oh really? Yeah.
That he's trying to get going.
Cool.
And I think you may have come when I was with the Scouts. You came over to the base camp facility for my STEM thing, and you were flying one of the bigger quadcopters.
Yeah, that was my big one.
Yeah.
Big one was 6-rotor one, I think. Back
Yeah.
That's what I put. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. That's
All right, everyone. Well, it took a little bit of doing, but we're here. Thank you all for coming out. Good afternoon, and definitely I got to get your information. So I apologize. All right, everyone on the line.
I hear you're quite.
Ms. Carlson, we're going to shut down. Thank you for your time tonight. Hopefully you were able to hear okay, and the recording comes out. It was our first attempt to do multiple technical live streaming here. So, but thank you for joining tonight, and you guys have a wonderful evening.